Welcome back to the next chapter where we discuss shades of gray. I am your host, Minister Kat, aka KittyRose, and I want to welcome you to the Parenting Now series. This town hall studio audience taping is for the 2025-26 grant series of applications that are being currently reviewed. So for grant purposes, the next chapter is creating these community engagement forums where parents and adult children can have a safe place to share how navigating in this space is new for all parties involved. I am currently in this space of parenting adult children. However, my experiences needed the assistance of a licensed therapist. And who better than Cornell's check-ins to be instrumental in providing tools to help parents and adult children navigate in this new space. So this is the setup for this conversation that we're having today. Originally, I had a panel discussion of people. I had a set of a mom and a dad who have grown daughters, and then I had a mother and a daughter who wanted to share their experiences with us today. However, the mother and daughter got into something over the holidays. But by the time January came, the adult child said to the mother, well, why aren't you over this yet? Like, by the time February comes, you should be fine. Like, why are you dealing or why are you pulling out of something now that happened in the holidays where we're doing something in February? And the mother's response was, well, you know, my feelings are hurt. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not just going to get over something just that quick because it's actually been a buildup. And I have to be my authentic self on set or on TV about how I feel about you. And right now, you know, I don't like you, you know, because my feelings are hurt. So lately, Cornell has been, one of the things that she has been teaching us is how to be mindful of our tone when addressing and talking to our adult children. Because a lot of us still have a tendency of talking to our adult children like they're 16, 17, even as young as 18, and they're now adults. So one of the takeaways I've taken away is that, like, if we're on the phone with them and we have to talk, to mute the phone unless they ask us our opinion. So when we have to talk, we can still talk, but just mute it so they don't hear what we have to say. So I've done that, you know, I've applied that tool to conversations with my children. But I really felt like, well, we're doing all of this work to be progressive parents, but what happens when our adult children hurt our feelings? Like, what do we now do in this space? Because we're supposed to be so mindful about how we talk to them, how our tone is with them so that they can receive what we're saying. But what happens when they hurt our feelings and we are stuck not knowing how to move so that we can still be politically correct? It got to a point in a conversation that me and my children and I had over Thanksgiving, it got so heated where it was like the F-bomb. F you, F you. And my oldest son says this to me, and I said it first though, F you, and then he responded. And in my mind, I felt, well, you haven't earned the right to tell me to fuck you. But was that even cool for me to even say to him? You know what I'm saying? For him to respond to me the way that he did. And so I wanted to start with that as our foundation. Like, we're doing all of this work with Cornell to be better parents and how to communicate. But again, what happens or what can we do when they hurt our feelings? How do we take that in to still be mindful and respectful to our adult children? So let's welcome Cornell Hickman, our licensed therapist.
Yes. Hi, guys. Thank you so much for being here. I feel like, that's
going
a question?
Right in. Yeah, man.
All right, y'all. Well, you know, I got to back up.
Okay.
The context, like, I'm listening to you of the mute the phone, and that sounds crazy. So just putting some context to that, I believe that the context was there were things that you wanted to share with your children, and you needed to kind of take a step back as opposed to maybe overworking for them, right? So like taking a step back to not do certain things for your child, to not overfunction, to make sure that they can kind of learn and grow and do things without stepping in. So that was the mute the phone. Not necessarily like you want to say something to your child and you have to listen to your child and you can't interrupt them ever. So that, just to give you guys some context.
Or you can go back to that show, that episode that we discussed.
And you could watch. And you could watch, right? But, this is such a nuanced question that if you feel like, and if just going off of your example where things were so heated, so can we go back some? Like, how did things even get that heated where you got to the FU?
Well, that's a perfect thing because that's a perfect question because what actually happened was I was going through something else and I didn't share that with the kids. So I was already in my mood or feelings about something else I was going through. So when I did talk to them or confront them, I was like, I'm not really feeling up to having Thanksgiving. Maybe we should cancel it. And then I said I had to go to Jersey, and my oldest son says, well, what's in Jersey? And I'm like, you're so involved in your life, you don't even know what's going on. What you mean you don't know what's going on in Jersey? Everybody else knows what's going on in Jersey. And then it went from, well, I'm trying to support you. And then I think I had an argument with my daughter because I had posted something on social media that wasn't about her, but was about her indirectly. So she wasn't speaking to me. So that made me feel like I don't really want to do Thanksgiving. But in reality, what was happening, which is why the next day I had to apologize to my adult children, is because I was going through my own personal, emotional stuff about my relationship ending, and I didn't share that with the children. I just kind of said, I don't feel like doing Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And then got triggered off of my son's comment about, well, what's in Jersey. But at the end of the day, I realized that it all stemmed from because I wasn't honest about that I was going through some emotional stuff at the time and said, like I'm not in a good space. I kind of made it very generic, which didn't give them any feedback, didn't give them any foundation to why I was even saying what I was saying.
Yeah, but it sounds like the trigger was I'm not being supported, and this person here is also not supporting me, and so you kind of just lashed out, right?
Yes.
So that, in order to not lash out, if you started, right, in order to not lash out, that's us taking stock of how we're feeling and just being truthful about it, right? So yes, you could have told your child, like did a preface for the whole day, like, okay, I'm not really feeling things, like I'm not really in a good mood. That's part one. But even if you did do that type of preface, he still could have said that and you still might have been triggered, right? So you could have taken a walk. You could have just said, I'll be right back, right? You could have taken some deep breaths so that you don't maybe lash out. And I also want to say, like, a lot of us just get upset and it just kind of is what it is sometimes, and we have to go back and apologize, right? So it's not necessarily about never making a mistake, but it's more about being in tune with how you're feeling in the moment so that you can catch yourself.
But to go back to the original parent and daughter, I did feel a kind of way in the conversation with my son because I did feel like he did hear me in a sense of, well, why don't you know what's going on in Jersey? You know what I'm saying? Why are you so consumed? We asked about your life, and that was what I said to him. I asked, if you decide to not tell me something in your adult life, that's on you. But don't say that I'm a parent who doesn't ask about what's going on in your life. I ask about every single thing that goes on from the morning to the night. So what he decides to share is him. So he was like, well, you don't share everything that's going on. And I'm like, that's so not true. Like, did you just meet me? I'm like so transparent even as a mom.
Right.
But I feel like it's supposed to be like, I really was hurt with the argument in a sense. Like my son telling me to F you, and then my daughter, and then my middle son is Switzerland. So he never has any opinion on everything. He just wants to stay neutral. But the two youngest and oldest, I say they're like the splitting image. My son is the worst part of me. My daughter's the best part of me. But in that, it's still feeling like my son did hear me.
Yeah.
Like I think that's what the mother was saying in that situation with her daughter. We don't feel like we're heard. So that's the problem. Like, yes, I might have been wrong. I might have been.
You were definitely.
I was wrong.
Yes, you were definitely.
I was wrong.
Yeah.
But again, he still didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
And my issue is, why is it so, why do we have to know about what's going on and be careful and concerned and ask you guys? But when it comes to us, it's like, well, you're the mom or you're the dad, so you should be okay, when we're still human going through our own human stuff. Like for the daughter to say, you should be okay by February, why you still mad? And the mom was like, because you hurt my feelings. And you're not taking ownership of that. My son, at the end of the day, hurt my feelings. And even though it might have been warranted, I didn't know how to come back from that. I didn't know how to get back in a mind frame where we could, I worked it out, but what happens in that space while you're trying to figure out when you're mad, they're mad, they don't like you, you don't like them, because ultimately all of us, I said a couple of episodes ago, I don't want to take anything away from families that are really going through like serious stuff, like drugs and going back and forth in jail, or baby mamas and baby daddies, or we're not those parents. No shade to those parents. But just because we're not those parents don't mean that the kind of parents we are, we still don't have things that happen with us and our adult children. So we're still going through our own challenges, even though the challenges may not be on the spectrum as other parents that are going through stuff. So I am grateful. We are all grateful for the children of these group of people that I know, for the ones who are parents. I don't think Carter's a parent. You got kids? Oh, okay, a daughter, right? But she's not too.
How
Yeah,
old
she's
is
a
your
little
daughter?
one. Yeah,
Okay.
that's
all
good,
right.
right.
So preemptively, this conversation is.
But I'm keeping an eye.
I love that for you. I love
Because
that.
it goes so fast. Because at one point, these little people back here was 12, and now they're not, So I knew that, again, in us finding a place, because all of us as the parents that are in this space, we are all, I don't want to say concerned, but we are all parents that are in our child active life. We have been fortunate and we have been blessed that we don't have those type of children that are on the extreme. But again, it doesn't mean that we still don't need tools and guides and that our feelings still don't get hurt. So like I said, I really wanted to address that. Like, when our feelings are hurt, why does it seem like it's so dismissive?
So that honestly might be situational, I think.
Is it?
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Let's get
It's
into
not
it.
no.
I think it's situational because it all boils down to.
But you just had 3 shaking heads.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm gonna get there, right? So let's call it. I could call it situational. I could call it like it happens. However, my point is that we're still talking about 2 adults now, right? And if we're talking about 2 adults, we still have to talk about communication. So nobody really teaches us how to speak typically, like each day. Now that therapy is like this big thing and, mental health is becoming more of a conversation and less taboo, and how do you communicate? It's becoming more of a conversation that's helpful, and we all can pick out defensiveness when it comes up. But dismissiveness is a part of defensiveness, right? And so what happens with defensiveness is if we feel attacked, doesn't matter if you're an adult, all of us are adults, we still are someone's child, right? But, it doesn't matter how old you are. If you feel like you're being attacked, then you might be defensive. And if you're not of the mind where you can easily say, I apologize or take accountability, then the alternative is to dismiss, right? So when I say that it's situational, I mean, is that person that you're speaking to, do they know how to take accountability, not just with you, but with anybody? And, or is it anything relative to the way your relationship is, right? There's so many different factors going on there that I think that it's helpful to speak to people individually about it. But let's say you and your child you already have a pattern of going back and forth, not listening, being dismissive of each other, right? There are probably times where you are dismissive of your child and they are doing the same thing. And so that's hurtful regardless, right? Like, you have every right to have those feelings. And I think, it's helpful as the mom to come back and address that. It would be helpful for your child as the child to come back and address that, right? Like, hey, everybody in the situation, just be reflective. Like, I did something that wasn't necessarily cool. I don't necessarily like what I did. So I'm going to come back and apologize. But the caveat to that is, it takes people different times to calm down, right? So you might be over it. You might have calmed down and reflected and been like, okay, I shouldn't have said that. But your child might still feel like, actually, my mom deserved that. So, like, I'm cool with not apologizing yet, right? And so, and if I know it feels crazy for you to hear, but
but the adult children are back there like, I'm like, wait a minute.
But I think, I think that this becomes tense because now we're talking about shifting the dynamic of the relationship, right? So like we're going from maybe you raised your child, right? We're talking about family-oriented people. You raise your child, so you're going from raising them up from a child and telling them what to do and not asking them, well, they can't ask you much questions. They can't challenge you. They can ask you questions out of curiosity, but they can't ask you questions to challenge, right? And now the dynamic is, well, I'm an adult now. We're kind of on the same level.
No.
I said kind of.
See?
I said kind of. I said kind of. Right?
Because
kinda.
my thing is, even with the kind of, we're never going to be on the
so
same
listen,
level.
So
That's
when
the
I
thing.
say,
I could be.
Hold on, Kat. Hold on. Relax.
No, because they feel like, well, my
gotta
son is damn near
breathe.
30. Okay.
You gotta breathe, right? So what I mean by this is we're on the same level as in we now can make decisions for ourselves,
Okay.
right? We're two adults, so the adult child can still make a decision for themselves. I'm pausing on this because this is not, your child doesn't need you actually. So what I was gonna say was they don't need you financially as much, but I paused because I also know we had a different episode, right? And you were still paying for some of your child's things. But then I'm like, no, your child didn't necessarily need, that was you wanting to still do that, right? And so there are just, I can say generally, right, there are just things that your child doesn't need you for as much. And so as they're navigating adulthood, when they come in and they have opinions of their own and they're okay to challenge now, you might still see your face. Look, you might still be in that standpoint of who are you to tell me what to do, or
yes, because again, we're never going to be on the same level. So my thing is like, there's a respect boundaries. I get that, but I am never going to be your peer. So you're never going to be on the same level to me to say that your feelings or your words towards me are valid because you're an adult now. Because I still got 20 plus years on you even as an adult.
Let me get this clear. Let me just be clear. Are you saying that your child cannot have valid feelings because they're not on the same level as you? And before you answer that, right? And this is transparent. So,
yes.
Whatever your answer is your answer. But I do agree that there's a certain reverence,
yes.
right?
Okay.
There's a certain level of respect that children just need to have for your parents, right? And so when your child is thinking straight,
right,
there is a moment where they will stop themselves because it's like, whoa, this is still my parent. I said when your child is thinking straight, they're not angry, right? Like people, we're all people. Sometimes, if we're talking about 0 to 100, and 0 is you're super, super calm and nothing is bothering you, and 100 is I'm on go, I'm seeing red, I don't care what you say. Right? The closer you are to 0, the easier it is to calm yourself down, right? It's just easy. But the closer you are to 100, it's harder. And sometimes, and it's not to say that it's right because your child has to apologize to you too, right? But sometimes the closer you are to 100, it's just harder to stop. But when your child is thinking straight, there is a limit to where they're gonna go because of that reverence.
Okay.
Right? But when they're closer to 100, especially if they feel attacked, right? I have to go back, right? So like we're still people, and as people, you also are not sure what your child went through when they stepped through your door on Thanksgiving, right? You're not sure, it's things that they're not sharing with you as well, even though you're an open book, right? So if we can shift the dynamic, and they're always gonna be your baby, however, this is a different way to look at them now, right? Because this is basically like a full-blown adult with their own emotions, with their own challenges, the things that they're going through. So yeah, there are times that they're going to be wrong, and hopefully they own that, hopefully. But if they don't, whether they do or not, right, your feelings can still be hurt by something that they say. You're human, right?
So what do we do in that space?
If your feelings are hurt, if you're calm enough, if you're able to shift the focus from, let's say I'm you talking to your child, so you would shift the focus from, why you're not asking me XYZ, like I always ask you whatever you need to. So that is more like attacking. It could come across attacking, right?
It did feel that way.
And so just shift the focus, like, shift the focus to yourself. That actually hurt my feelings. Just be transparent. Just say what it is, because that's less attacking, right? That gives your child a chance to be like, well, what happened? Now, that doesn't mean that because you do that, your child is going to say, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that I hurt your feelings, mom, right? But if your intention, because all you can focus on is yourself, all you have
Right.
control over is yourself, right?
Okay.
So if your intention is to really be mindful of the way you're coming across,
Okay.
then you shift the focus to yourself and talk about how you are impacted emotionally by
What's the
something.
percentage of that working?
Yeah, it's about an 85%,
Damn, okay,
right?
all right.
But if it doesn't work, you can still go back and have the conversation. I think, the biggest thing, even about that example that you brought up, the biggest thing is, are we talking to each other and are both people open to hearing the other person, right? So in that example with the family that was supposed to be here, even the daughter saying, oh, you still not over that? That's a problem.
Right.
That's a problem, and she has to fix that, because if the shoe were on the other foot, she would want her mother to listen to her, right?
But I felt like she was being dismissive of her mother's
was.
okay. So the mother, just feels sad and that the daughter isn't getting it. But, she doesn't not want to still be there for her daughter.
Yeah.
So how do we wait for the adult child to come around and be getting that light bulb moment to be apologetic to their parent? Or do we just say that they're not there yet because we're supposed to meet our people where they at, so we have to work continuous on ourselves to just be okay when they decide they want to speak to us again?
But see, that's the thing, right? Now, oh, I'm sorry, what'd you say? Sort of, kind of, right?
Ew.
So that, I think, like, listening to you, the more we talk, you're not seeing them as adults.
So I will own that a little bit. That's why that's why we were here, because I'm still challenging it, because I will just take my youngest as a perfect example. When she left home with a curfew. And now she's been on her own for 3.5 years. So when she's home now, she doesn't have a curfew.
Yeah.
But I'm like, wait, what? You know what I'm saying? You just 21.
Yeah.
But she's an adult. So it has been challenging for me. And I also realized that my tone, because I think I'm a nice person and I'm a peaceful person, that always comes out. So when I was asking my daughter, my children actually, to give me grace about what I was going through, my daughter says to me, well, okay, that's valid, but when do we get grace? When you get upset, you go from 0 to 100, and you've been doing that my whole life, and she only 21. So I'm like, well, I've been doing that your whole life, and you're only 21, I had to look back at myself and say, well, do I do that? And I have noticed that I do that. I didn't know I did it so much with my children, but I do know in my real life that when I am upset, I do go from 0 to 100. So if I've done that in my real life, I'm sure, I guess, I've done that with my children. So now, in coming to that awareness, how do I, what do I do so that I don't react to them that way, so that they don't react to me that way? Because now what I'm thinking is they're only reacting off of the way I'm responding to them.
Maybe, but and I don't want to say only, right? But everything happens in relationship,
Okay.
right? So you could be, like I was saying, there's conversations are moments in time where, yes, you do affect the other person. So it could be that you're coming across you're coming across as attacking, and their response is to be defensive. Now, I will also say that there may be times, like I said earlier, it doesn't mean just because you said, oh, that hurt my feelings, that your child is going to say, oh, I'm so sorry, right? Because sometimes you can say something as gentle as a snowflake touching a leaf, just so gentle. And the person is still defensive, right? It's something that they're hearing. It's either something that they're going through in that current moment, or there's something about, their childhood, their past that they may be holding on to.
Oh.
And so you ask the question about how do I not go from 0 to 100, and everything, all of our responses, it's really about the narrative, like whatever we already think about something, right? And so, because events could be neutral, like events, they could just happen and they don't have to be good or bad, but it's something that we have gone through that we will determine if that's good or bad, right? And so, there are morals that we have, like, so hearing F you and F you, we're all like, ooh, like clutching our pearls, right? And so, morally, that's a different story, but somebody could walk in here right now and close the door. And I could be like, why are they slamming the door like that? And you could be like, oh, okay, like that was nothing, right? And so what I'm saying is, going from 0 to 100 has everything to do with what it is that you're thinking and what it is that you're feeling in that moment. And now, if I just take the situation that you told me about, you are already going through something. If you're coming from this lens, if we think about things happening in a telescope or like a funnel, where all the information that we take in is going through that funnel. So we're seeing it almost through like these rose-colored glasses, right? So the rose-colored glass is, let's say, your overall thought often, your overall thing that you think is like, oh, my kids don't think that they have to respect me in the same way, right? If that's your thought, if your kid says something that you think is disrespectful, it's like amplified because you are already thinking, oh, my kids don't think that they need to respect me or they need to apologize to me or whatever it is that you think. Like, they could take an action and maybe it was neutral. Maybe they didn't even realize that they came at you like that.
Okay.
But because you already think that they could get away with whatever now that they're adults, right? Maybe you attack them in that moment.
Does that make sense to anyone? Does that make?
So Should I say it another way for you?
I think I got
Okay,
it. Did you
okay.
Did you guys all? That's how I felt. Like, you saw my face, like, wait, what? But I think I got
50-50.
it. Yeah.
Okay.
So for the 50-50.
I get it, but I still think everything Kat said was right.
Was right.
Like,
So
I
you
get
guys
it,
are holding on to.
but
What
I
ends up happening is that
definitely think.
as a parent, I'm sorry.
No, it's
we
not
started.
you.
Yes.
Just so that I get it out because
Yeah.
I'm gonna forget it.
Come on.
As a parent, you
There's no
feel
sound.
like you end up forgiving a lot and then still have those feelings inside. Because I know that I forgive a lot and I'm holding on to so much sometimes that I blow up. And then it becomes this bigger thing when it shouldn't have been that big. Because I've been holding on to so much. It, because you're the adult. So you have to act a certain way. And so you end up holding so much that, a little conversation becomes so
much
big,
bigger.
becomes such a different conversation in your head because you've been holding on to so much for so long. And something that he might have said like, well, what does that person mean to this situation, or where are you going? That little comment might have became so much bigger in your head because you've been angry for a whole lot of time already.
Right.
And
Okay.
so, those big feelings inside come out like so much more because you've been trying to hold on so much because you're the adult, you're the mom, and you're not supposed to react like this. You're not supposed to react to those little comments that come at you so
Yeah.
much
Right.
because you're the grown up.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Thank
what
you for
happens?
that.
Thank you.
And I think that that's valid, right? I hope that that's not getting lost in my message, right? That people can still hurt our feelings, even if they're our child, right? But the thing about that is two things, right? It's what you are telling yourself, that narrative, I'm the parent, I'm supposed to act a certain way, right? So that may inform your actions. And the second thing is, well, who said as a parent you can't say to your child, I didn't really like that, actually hurt my feelings, Because now this is a different dynamic. I know if we're talking about the dynamic of high school versus child, we teenagers, we're very nasty, right? Like, teenagers are so nasty, but it's all the hormones, right? But like, as I specifically remember a time that maybe I was like 13, and I was just mouthing at my mom. But I remember, I could see it in my head. She's just staring at me, like not saying anything, right? And now that I'm an adult, I know that was her probably doing her countdown in her head because it was either, stand here and cook in the kitchen or she's going to jail. Like, if she actually puts hands on me, right? And so now that we are adults and your child's an adult, who said now that you can go from taking those deep breaths before you put hands on your child? Why can't you go from that to, you know what, that actually really hurt my feelings. Like, I've been going through a lot, and I just really didn't need that right
So
now.
it doesn't build up
Yeah.
anymore. So can we start that today?
Absolutely.
But if we started today, does it take away all the stuff, the
But
10 or 20 years?
But I think
I love that part. Say
this
it
is
on my
the
mic.
thing.
Here we go.
Yes.
I want to cook, but you got to let me know what level of.
No, I'm here for it. Let's go. Let's go.
What I was saying is, Kat, I'm still over here on this side. I get everything you're saying. Like, I get everything you're saying. But even though we're trying to be friendly with our children, we're not buddies. I am still the end-all, be-all authority as your parent. And the reason why I'm saying that is because we're planting the seed for the children to go out into the world, right? One thing they're going to have to deal with when they go out in the world is what? Authority. So if you have a respect for the authority that I'm creating as your parent, I'm planting the seed for you to know how to deal with all forms of authority when you're out in the world.
Right, but the
And
problem
you still have to know that I am the end all. So toning that down will help with toning down situations when they're out in the world.
So, but
Right,
let's talk
but-
about authority.
But
though.
wait, no, because you actually did speak on that in the early part of the show when she was talking about like setting that precedent from the beginning. You're still in a place of where the young person you setting that example. We have already now set the example for these young adults.
Yeah.
So these young adults now they understand the respect part. They've been taught that. They've been given that foundation. It didn't stop my 30-year-old. It didn't stop him from telling me F you. You know what I'm saying? But they've gotten that foundation already because of exactly what you're saying. Them knowing and them knowing from us that we're never peers, that we're always that adult figure or authority over them. So when she mentioned that because they have that training, then hopefully when they do get into these situations and places with us, they can now take some ownership over how they feel because we've given them that foundation to understand that, okay, well, maybe now I can talk to them in an adult kind of way because I've given them the foundation that they know to respect me. They're not crossing those lines. They're not trying to be my friend. My kids are not saying, yo, what's up? You know, they're not doing that. You know what I mean? But he did feel comfortable enough to say F you because I said it first. But again, when do we, you know, now that we're talking to adults who we're setting the tone to respect authority and we cross the line, but in our heads, we didn't cross the line because in my head, I was like, you haven't earned the right to tell me that. I just spoke up to my mother at 50. You know what I'm saying?
still
Like,
agree.
there's never
Hold on, hold
I
on.
still agree.
There's
I mean,
never
I'm
a part that you can talk to me
Hold
out
on, no,
loud.
but hold on. But I'm sorry, but
I'm coming from a
so yes, you took the words right out of my mouth.
Marine, military man, martial art man. You know,
But it's not even authority. You're coming from the standpoint of when you say authority, you're thinking damn near dictator, right? Like right. So
But it doesn't sound like that.
so like this has to
Because
go.
I say in my house, my kids don't live in a democracy. I say it's a dictatorship all the way. I've never said that they live in a democracy.
No, but
Right.
listen to this, right? So if you're still at the standpoint of what I say goes and you don't get to question, right? Now, what you're asking your child to do is don't question you, period. They could feel how they feel, they could have opinions, but you don't want to hear about it.
I didn't say don't question. We can have like even with my daughter, for example. She's free.
Challenge,
No.
yeah.
No, she's free to talk with dad, kick it with dad. I even let her, like, between the two of us, we have our little curse moment because my mouth. And she picked up a lot of stuff from my mouth. But we have a context of how this operates. This is just our thing. She doesn't take it outside. She doesn't do it anywhere else. It's our thing, right? But as far as, like, if there's a challenge situation,
Yeah.
we can still work it out. I can still discuss things with you, but you're still going to understand and respect that I'm still the above all authority. So it's not a dictatorship, because the dictatorship would just be like, you do what I say, don't you move. Like what I grew up with.
So
Zip it, you see?
Right.
But saying, hey, mama, listen, go ahead, get it out. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. All right, cool, yeah, I get all of that, I understand that. Here's what I'm saying to get you to understand where daddy's coming from. And then that's it. That's it. That's the law. That's the rule. That's how we're going to
That's
play
what-
it.
but
So I'm
that's-
still communicating with you,
Yeah,
but
but
I'm still keeping a parameter set where you still have the understanding. Because, and maybe this might not be a theory everybody subscribes to, but this is something that's worked for me since she was a baby, is planting the seed. So not to go all biblical, but you plant the seed so it can
And
grow.
you train up a child. Mm-hmm.
So I'm planting the seed, and I've been planting the seed. So now when we have conversations with her at 12, we already have an understanding, and she knows when to slow it down. All right, I'm going too far with that. You understand? So from 12 on, if I start planting the seed now,
All saying that.
You feel me?
I want to hear from an adult child.
I mean, we could. Trust me. I mean, so far,
And it's so funny. We all saying that.
100%
But I want to hear
But
what an adult child has to say.
I hear where you're coming from.
Everything's been smooth.
But it's going
Yeah,
to.
I think we was all cool at 12.
even hearing this,
Yeah.
all along the steps till now, I've been hearing that, right? Mm-hmm. So that gives me a barometer to set my success rate. Mm-hmm. You understand?
I do.
With the people who say, well, no, because I see that with other people's children, and that could be for what happens with you. But if I'm doing something, and I've been having a high success rate with what I'm doing,
At 12.
At 12.
yeah, but there's the stages. Remember, there's the stages. There's birth till 5. You'll hear, oh, it's not. You don't know, because you haven't been there. It's your first. Then I say, I know, and then it works. Then there's 5 to 10. And it's the same thing. Oh, well, you don't know because it's your first one. And you don't know about 5 to 10. And what I'm doing works.
In the interest
So
of time.
now I can set a barometer, right?
But in the interest of time,
in thinking, I can set a barometer of a success failure rate
You can.
of what I'm doing, correct?
yes, you can.
So now, see, here's where I guess the whole room is missing me on this one. I said I have one, but I've raised a whole, generations of them. Five girls, 6 boys. So I was able to go through this from watching them be born, going through the terrible twos, the 5s, the teens, the knuckling up, the screaming, the yelling, the back and forth, the chasing you around, to get it. So I've had experience, and then I had mine. So it's a little unique because I've had experience going into this. The only difference was with those, I could always give them back. With this one, yeah. But at the same time, like I said, scientifically, if you have enough to test something and you can have a success failure rate, and so far the success rate has been good, you can't say that I'm not on a good path. Now you can say, no, it can be said, well, wait till 12 to 16. But if I've been all right since birth to 12 and it's been accurate, slightly flawless.
As we started the show.
Yes, but what I'm
as we
saying
started-
is
wait,
I
Carter,
went through this.
as we-
I went through this.
Right.
Taking into account the 12 to 16-year-olds.
I am. If
Right.
no.
But
What I
not
just said.
but not older.
No, but what I just said.
Wait, hold up.
I've been through it several times.
Right, with others.
with
Can
12 to
I
16
just
in
interject
my
for a
household.
second? Let me just interject for a second. What's
every
your
day
name
living
is
with
Carter?
Yes.
Okay, Carter.
Correct.
Thank you so much for sharing that, right?
No problem.
So what I think we all I'm gonna speak for me. What I understand is that you take side with what Kat is saying, right? Like at the end of the day,
Like I said, I
people
understand you.
people can your child is gonna be able to give their opinion, but at the end of the day, what you say, like you're gonna let them speak, but at the end of the day when you go, that's it. Right? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Be on authority is your mother and your father.
Got that. Okay. Thank you for sharing that. I think she had a question in the back.
So I would love to hear from one of our adult children and their feedback on this.
Hello, my name is Sage.
Hi.
And I do agree to a certain extent. I feel like everything is good in moderation. So you learn that. I feel like when you raise kids and you try to be this strict parent, like, no, you're gonna do this, you're gonna do that, and then you could possibly get retaliation, and then you get like almost like who's gonna, because sometimes when you have, specifically with girls, I say and I observe, and I've been that, is like, well, you could tell me what to do, but I'm gonna find a way to do what I want to do. Like when I'm a teenager, like, and as growing up, that's why me and my mother, we did clash heads, a whole lot. But as I got older and grew into an adult, like I realized, like, okay, I deserved every beating that I got. Like, okay, like this was like way, like uncalled for. This just got way out of proportion for no reason. But I do say, like, just even though it has a higher success rate, which is good, like just like you do, like for instance, like with parlays, okay, if I'm gonna go there, like again, whatever the case is, you go with the higher success rate, right?
Explain the parlay. Explain the parlay.
Explain the parlay.
Oh, a parlay is like when you vote. I mean, like when you bet on teams, like sports teams, right? And you bet on that, you gamble. It's a gamble always, but you go based off of statistics of what happened in the past, like scores in the past. You know, even though it has a higher success rate, I would just always say for everybody to have an open mind about different topics and just never like be like, no, this is the way that I think, and like stubborn in your own thinking. Always kind of have an open mind to kind of grow in your mind, right? Give
So,
your brain the possibility.
As a teenager who caused frictional problems that was valid,
Yeah.
how do you now communicate? Like, you guys just went on vacation. Like, how do you, she's a woman, you're a woman, you both are in sexual relationships. Like, how do you now communicate
just brought
as
a whole
an
nother
adult
element.
woman with your
Just brought a
mom?
whole nother element.
Because that's a whole other thing. Once our kids get grown,
That's what I'm saying. You just
they're
brought a whole
sexual
nother
now
element.
also. But we're also sexual. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? So that's like, how do you do, you
Okay,
just
it
went on
was actually
vacation.
really interesting. It's funny that you bring that up because this trip with my mom, I went a month away with my mom. We were together for a whole month.
Grown.
We do not live together. So, you know, of course, it's something different, you know, having your mom, because I was having times where I was catching her trying to hold my hand across the street, like, you know, and it was just stuff that, like, you know, because she missed me being in the house, and then times where she would try to take my phone at night, and I'm like, Mom, I don't even live with you anymore. Like, you don't even pay for my phone bill anymore. Like, what are you trying to do? It's definitely an interesting dynamic that we actually had to get used to each other again because we do not live with each other. And not living with each other actually improved our relationship tremendously.
Wow.
Like,
Okay.
you don't even understand
Wow.
the way it improved our relationship because I'm a very, like, independent kind of person in the way that I think and the way that I do everything. I do not like feeling controlled whatsoever. It's like a big, how are you gonna tell me, like, you know, like, how
You
are
about
you
to trigger
telling
these
me
parents in here, girl. You really gonna trigger them.
Yes, it definitely, you know, and not living together like allowed us to even like have more closer conversations where she's expressed things differently to me, and I'm like, yo, ma, like I never realized you felt like that, or I never realized like you, because you know it kind
And
of
what
gave
did
us
that do
this
for y'all?
space. It just made us closer. Like as time went by, you know, me leaving the house at a younger age definitely was a fight. It was a big thing for her to like kind of let go. And I feel like that's like a big thing for a lot of parents to learn when they start setting up boundaries, like us as adult kids, you know, setting up boundaries. Okay, we don't really want this to be crossed. But then, you know, as a parent, you feel like, who are you setting boundaries up
Because I
with?
feel like as a parent, I should have keys to your house.
Yes.
And my adult kids feel like,
It's
wait,
my
what?
face. Like I couldn't even hide that. Like
Right,
I'm
like-
sorry. What?
Now I got the kid asking me for the key to my house.
Well, okay.
Yeah, and I'm like not having it.
Well, wait. The key. Did she ask for the key like in case of emergency, or
No,
was it like
I just feel like I should have a key
so
to
you
all
can
their
open
house.
it, but like just
Yeah,
for
well,
emergencies?
that
or,
could be one reason,
oh
but
no,
why
you want
not?
it so you can open the door whenever you want.
But I wouldn't. But why don't I have a key?
See, I'm
Go
having
ahead.
that conversation
Like,
now with
I'm
the
not
adult.
gonna come to Harlem just to come to Harlem. I'm not gonna go down south to go down south. I'm not gonna go to Philly. But I feel like you guys got a key to 920. Why can't I have a key to your house?
But you know what's so interesting? Because sometimes you say things like. You say things like, you know, we're not on the same level, but sometimes when you're speaking out loud about it, it's like, well, I do this, why don't you do this for me?
Okay.
So sometimes, you know, like you're blurring the lines, and if they blur the lines, then you're upset.
Oh wow. So how do we avoid blurring the lines?
You gotta you have to adjust, and you gotta set that boundary. You gotta follow it, right? So it's like y'all are not on the same level. So even in your conversation, I would just be mindful of that, right? Like if you want a key, you want a key, but talk about why you want a key. Not necessarily like you have a key to my house. Why don't I have a key to yours? That's a whole different dynamic. They grew up
Okay.
in your house. They have the key to
Right.
your house, right? That's
I'm
totally
not
different.
the opposite. Even the title threw me off. Because parenting an adult child.
Sorry, what a
I'm
dog.
done. I'm exhausted. The title, I'm like, wait, I don't want to do that anymore. So that's where I am. I got an almost 25-year-old.
Uh-huh.
We've been through it. She can tell you, we're in a better place.
Nice.
But when I tell you I don't want to give out any more advice, I don't want to hear no more mess. I just, let's hang out. Fly me someplace so I can meet you. Please don't tell me about your boyfriend.
Right.
I am mentally,
Wow. You checked
I am
out.
mentally,
Wow.
emotionally checked out. I'm done. I did a good job. You still breathing?
Yeah. Right.
I did it. I'm done. I don't want. Ma, what you think? I think nothing. Ma, what would you tell me? Absolutely nothing. And I know that sounds bad because we
No,
the
it doesn't
parents.
sound bad.
I want us to be equals now. Now we can be friends.
Oh.
I'm done.
Okay.
At 25?
At 25, yes. Be my friend. Be my friend. Take me out for drinks. Because he's a flight attendant, he can't drink, so I buy my own drinks, but that's cool.
Okay.
As long as you don't bring me anything that's going to, I love the living alone part, I can agree with you.
Right.
When he moved out, it was hard, because not that he did, it was how he did it. We weren't in a good place, because we as parents, we don't want them running, screaming out the door. You know, we want you to go when you're supposed to go and enjoy the process. So I've come away in 5 years.
Yeah.
Therapy was a beautiful thing for both of us, apart together, but that's been a lifelong thing. But I don't want to parent anymore.
Yeah.
I am done.
That's okay.
But
You can
That's
introduce
okay.
me as your friend. That's how done.
But when you say,
But you
I
don't want to
am.
be their friend. You also want limits because you don't want them to act like your friend and tell you their business. So you just want.
No. I do, but they choose not to, and that's okay too.
Oh, 'cause I
You
thought
have
you
to
just
get
said
used
don't
to the limits. You have to get used to the boundaries. That's a new thing. I got my city girl apartment now. Talk about where my key? What on your chain? The one to your house?
Say your city girl apartment.
There's no popping up over here. We don't do the pop up. We are equal in a sense of I'm done parenting.
Parenting you.
But
Okay.
I'm exhausted. Don't.
But
no.
when we come to when we say parenting adult children, I don't want it to be confused about the same type of parenting that we did
Of
when
course,
we were
yeah,
children.
yeah.
It's like right now, of course, my adult children don't
Yeah.
need the day-to-day on top of them as they once did, the
Absolutely.
everyday instructions from me anymore. But because there are challenges, whether I'm thinking about getting married, whether I'm starting my family, what are the best health care that I should use, or or mom, what did you do with formula versus breastfeed, or I want to buy a house and we're helping with the mortgage for the house, or things like that. So I think the parenting changes.
It does.
It's not the
I
day
can
to
try, I still do that because last night I sent him a
It's not the
brush.
same.
He's on video and your hair looks horrible.
Okay.
So the mom in me, I'm not
Right.
paying no attention to what you said in the video.
Because you see,
I see your hair
appearance.
looking
Right,
crazy.
right.
So I went and got an unbrush
Yeah.
and I mailed it to
So you
him
still
through
did
Amazon.
So you still did a
Still
parent
parenting.
thing.
Because-
so you still parented.
Because you stole my face so people know you my child. And you on TV looking crazy and I got my girlfriend calling me talking about, is he okay? Why he don't want to do his hair? So that part, yes, as a mom I jumped in, but I didn't even tell him. I just said, you got a package
and
coming.
send him a brush.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was it.
I
And
hear
send him
you.
a
You're
price.
like,
That
you're
was it.
like, I'm just done
That
with being
part,
on
yeah,
top
it's cool.
of you so much, right?
Yeah,
hear
I'm
you.
just the emotional baggage, and I don't want to say so much it's baggage.
Yeah.
It's at some point, and I had to remind my child I was not a young parent, so let me introduce you to who I am.
right now.
Before I was mom, I had a whole name. So I was a chick before I became
That
mom.
part.
Yeah.
That part. I
Okay,
think we forget
so the
that
person
too.
you get in
Yeah.
is the chick before mom. Mom's a whole new chick. Mom had to get it together.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Diana gonna match your energy. Diana's gonna bring it for
But
you.
that's the thing.
And that's when you have to. That's the part.
Thank you for saying that,
Because you got to
though.
remind them who
Yeah.
you were before you were mom.
Wow.
And I thank you for saying that because as much as we've been talking about what the adults have to do, like the parents have to do, that's the onus of the adult child too, right? Give
Yeah.
your
That
parents
part.
that grace. And
Yeah.
the way that we do that is remembering this is actually a human, right?
Yes.
Like at the end of the day,
Please.
right?
Yeah.
They're not just my parents. And just if I could speak to the I'm a millennial, right? So like to speak to the millennials and down, or even like a little bit older, right? Like that realization that your parent is an adult, is just a woman or a man, right? Or however they identify, like that is a whole other adjustments, right, for us to have to make. And so that's why there's a lot of forgiveness on both parts, right? Like our parents might say something to us and we're like, oh, that's foul. But I think it's because we're thinking this is our parent, they're supposed to not do, or they're supposed to do. And so it's not just the adults or the parents that have that mindset, and that's what makes them upset. Us too, as children, like we'll get upset because there's an expectation that we have now on parents. And really it's like we have to check ourselves too. So that's why I was saying that, you know, it is, you're still talking to an adult even though you're talking to an adult child. And so it is on the child too to reflect and say, oh man, that was wrong, I shouldn't have done that. Or say, you know what, that actually hurt my feelings, mom or dad. You know what I mean? Like we have the same responsibility.
Right.
In a conversation, everybody has a responsibility, and that's to be open, that's to be respectful, that's to, you know, set boundaries as well. And because there's that adjustment, it hurts. Sometimes we look at each other like, well, who are you talking to, right? And I know as a child, that sounds crazy sometimes for me to think about my parent, like, who are you talking to? But it's like, they're talking to you. They're talking to you. And if you don't like it, you don't have to get nasty back, right? Because especially as a child, there's just a certain limit that right, the way that I was raised at this point, it's just like, to both of you all's points, right? There are just certain things that I am not going to do. It doesn't matter.
The adult child.
Yeah,
okay.
as an adult child. Like, it doesn't matter what I see my siblings do. It doesn't matter because there's just a reverence that I have for my parents, right? And not to say that I don't do or say things that, you know, that are probably offensive or rub my parents the wrong way. But in my mind, my goal is to not disrespect, you know, not to disrespect them.
I want to get one more adult child's opinion or comment before we wrap up, because I saw the adult child.
You want to hear from her baby?
Yes. Wait, baby,
her grown man, excuse me, her grown man, adult child, excuse me.
So you guys, you just touched on it, exactly what I was thinking. Like, I'm hearing all of you talk about how, you know, you're putting your feelings aside sometimes because you're the adult, and you know, while something might hurt your feelings, you're just holding it in. But you know, even as the child, like all the years that we were going through of having you as a parent, you know, there's a certain level of forgiveness that we also like have, like certain things that you do, you know, we're like you said, I have that respect for my parents where I'm not going to break that boundary and bug out. I'm gonna take a step back and also, you know, hold my feelings in. And it's funny because I'm listening to her bring up the time during Thanksgiving when that whole fight was going on, and we had a separate group chat, and like, wow.
Oh my God.
No, I have to. Because while this whole conversation is going on, we're in a separate group chat, and we're just like, and at least I am saying like, wrong. This is Ma, like this is how she's gonna act. Like you guys have to just take a step back, apologize to her, because you know she's gonna take this more personally than, you know, any of you guys might. Like you guys could get over this.
Oh, so you said something in the group chat.
I said something in the group chat.
Not in our chat.
Not in our chat. You know, I was giving my 2 cents, and you know, also just like listening to, you know, the parent side. I'm a teacher, so I deal with students every single day. I see all of the stuff that kids hide, where they're holding in their feelings for what might be going on at home. And some students come to me and they talk to me about it. And the point is that, you know, we have our whole life as children and now as adults are also putting our feelings aside and apologizing or being the child because you are the adult, and we're respecting you as the adult. But again, we're adults, and sometimes we might go have those moments where we're at 100 and we want to also bug out, and it's gonna come out because we're holding a lot in, just as much as you might. You know, honestly, maybe more as a kid. You know, because all these years as a kid, we have to just shut up and we have to just take it.
I didn't even think about that.
We are always holding a lot in.
We're about to wrap up, but that's a perfect example because we just celebrated as a family my daughter's graduation, and we were at dinner, and her father and I was sitting next to each other about to make a toast or something. And everybody in the room was shocked that we were sitting nice to each other. But even the people at the restaurant were shocked. And what I take away from that is that my daughter, I'm so grateful she had a village, but my daughter throughout the years was talking to whoever was close to her about what she was going through in the household with her parents. And I didn't realize it was that much. That the people at work know what you going through. Like, how much shit we was giving. What was we putting you through? But it was interesting. I never thought about the impact of what you guys have been holding back from child to now to be, that's wow, okay.
But your daughter did say that though. She said she's been watching you go from 0 to 100 since
her whole
life, right?
Right.
And that's one of the clues, right? Where it could have been, or of course it impacts us, right? And so the moral of the story, right, or this whole conversation is, it is on everybody in the room to give each other grace to think about what the other person might be experiencing and how we came across. And hopefully we can start having real conversations with each other. Because, we when we're young, we grow up hearing, like, I'm not your little friend. You don't tell me all these things. But maybe as adults, right? Like, maybe as adults, it's okay to start opening up to say, like, how are you for real, right? Like, what's going on with you for real? And, there are going to be just some things you don't share because of the boundaries and the respect level. But maybe it's okay to start making that level of adjustments, right? And so, but thank you guys so much for hearing.
First step.
I wanted to just tell you guys, I'm a therapist, individual work, family work, also couples work. And if you want to reach out to me, you can go to www.counselingtocomfort.com.
It'll be on the screen when you guys watch it on the show. So I, again, want to thank you guys for coming, being vulnerable, sharing, taking the time to spend your Saturday with us. We would also like to thank Lehman College Facilities for providing the space here at BronxNet Community Television. New Heritage Theater as the Next Chapter 2024-25 fiscal sponsor, and all of the in-kind donations like Cornell Hickman, because again, I told you, this is what she does for a living. So, her coming out is a form of an in-kind donation that she's doing to the community. BronxNet crew and staff, and definitely my fellow community access producers. Reason why I want to shout out my fellow community access producers is because, again, this forum is important for us because at this time now, they are trying to cut the funding for community media. So we need you guys to please support community media and public policy, certain laws enacted on the federal, state, and municipal levels impacting public access community media centers like BronxNet, and I will work to provide local content, workforce development opportunities, and access to media education and technological resources for the people of the Bronx. Help protect local voices and support community media, BronxNet, by support community media. By supporting community media, BronxNet has been able to provide students and the public at large with media education and access to technology, studios, and services for over 30 years. So we are asking for all of you guys' help to protect these vital public resources. Share your voice with your elected officials to let them know that you want community media network to continue and to serve you and the community well into the future. Because forums like this, yes, can be on the big networks, but again, these type of intimate settings help us on a local level, on a community level. So by supporting legislation for community media, the Tech Equity and Access to Media Bill, formerly known as the Community Media Reinvestment Act, is expected to be reintroduced as a bill in both the New York State Senate and the New York State Assembly. So we're going to Albany in February 24th to pass or to help pass this bill. So if you guys can also go to BronxNet.org, click on the link. There's a link that you guys can submit a letter to your local politicians supporting what things like this have done for you as a community and supporting the continued work of community access producers. So I would like to thank again my audience for tuning in. Once again, this is the next chapter where we discuss shades of gray because not everything is black and white. I am your host, Minister Kat, a.k.a. KittyRose, and stay tuned for next week. And thank you once again, Cornell Hickman, for joining us. And that is a wrap.
Dark days I carry, sharp pains and bellies. All days be heavy when you're programmed to survive. Legendary ciphers get the MCs in the jobs. The city never sleeps, slept from 1 to 5. When COVID hit the block and we had to stay inside. Tough love is all I know, so be gentle with myself.